Hello and welcome to the STCfit podcast. I'll be your host today. My name's Nat Jurek, and with me I'll be joined by Ben Scott and Jason Galea. STCfit are a group of coaches who provide premium coaching and education services to high-achieving women who want to ditch the frustration and achieve the results they want when they want. On the podcast, we'll be discussing all things related to our 5-step method to experiencing total clarity in knowing how to achieve your goals, present and future. The podcast is brought to you by STCfit for all your online and personal training needs. If you enjoyed today's episode, please give us a share and tag at Nat Jurek STCfit, at Ben Scott STC, and at Jason Galea _STC. Hope you enjoy the show. Benjamino?
Natalie, are we going to do this every week ongoing now forever?
Yes.
I like your message this morning was just hi, and I got in first with hello, Natalie.
I purposely didn't say that because I was trying to be nice. And then you said it and I was like, fine, if you want to play like that, two can play that game.
It's my one chance to get one up on you because I never lead with it. But
I feel like I'm in trouble.
I saw my opportunity and I took it.
Yes, that you did. Are you distracted now because you just got a delivery and you want to go test your runners?
I feel like I was thinking about it before when I got the message from Australia Post that like I need to put them on and like run up and down my hallway and be like, yeah, they're fast.
I don't know how much you can test in that hallway.
Yeah, it's like, do you remember being a kid? You go to the shoe store and you put them on and you like do a quick little run.
I didn't run. Can't relate.
Yeah, so that shows how long it's been since I bought a purpose-built pair of running shoes because I was like
in
10.
primary school. Oh my God, that's so funny.
I was actually talking to the guy that did my running program, and I was like, oh, like I need to wait obviously for things to open up and then I can go to Athlete's Foot and like get measured properly and stuff. Then I was like, wait a minute. That's like 14-year-old me thinking that that's how you buy shoes. Is that actually a real fucking process? Is that actually a thing?
Do they do that for adults?
And then I was like, no, just search runners for heavy people.
Oh, that's so funny. Like all the little primary school kids like lining up and then you just there. Like, can I please get my shoe fixed?
Tell me what shoes I need, please.
I can run fast.
Stay tuned to my Instagram for the debut of the new wheels. I'm very excited because when I started to run or decided to run, I actually sent my running coach a message. I was like, if a 95 kilo human ran barefoot on the oval, would they break their shit? He's like, why are you asking me this? I'm like, because I only own Jordans or Timberlands. And then neither of them I can run in. So I feel like barefoot is a better option.
Yeah, I feel like you're one step ahead of me anyway, because I'm the one who ran a 12K quarter marathon and fractured their foot. So
did you go to Athlete's Foot and get fitted first, Nat?
I didn't even run at all, ever. I did the 6K like the year before and I was like, oh, I did so well. I'm going to do 12. Like not realizing it's double and I broke myself. So I'll never, ever forget that.
Maybe that's why, because you didn't go to Athlete's Foot, get measured up properly for your shoes.
Yeah, we can put it to a number of things.
Yeah, didn't do a test run inside the shop.
You're only sprinting though.
Lack of preparation or training or anything like that. It was just because you didn't get your shoes fitted properly.
Yeah, but like 12K, that went for like hours, like 2 or 3 hours.
12K is far, man.
Yeah, it is really far. I didn't know how far it was until I did it. Till I was over the Balti Bridge. Like, do I just jump off this thing? Because like that would be less painful. Yeah.
Yeah, I did Tough Mudder in, must be like 2014-ish, 2015.
I've wanted to do that for so long, but it's also probably super dangerous.
Yeah, 21 Ks with 21 obstacles on like cow paddocks. It was not a good time. Like it was fun. Yeah. But it was also really not fun at the same time.
Yeah, it's like the sadistic version of fun that we talk about with like when we say we like powerlifting, like pain is fun. Like that's it.
But I was probably 63 kilos, not 90 kilos. So it was it's probably a much more enjoyable experience then than it would be right now.
It would be way more fun to watch you do that right now.
Yeah, well, the first obstacle was a nice thing, so I think I could get through that. But there was a few that like climbing big hay bales and like wood walls and stuff. Was like, there's no way now. Not a chance.
Can't get 2 feet off the ground.
No, that's not it.
I just live for your stories of you doing your like running drills.
I need to film some more of them. We've got
like a ninja.
Yeah, we've got some new stuff in there and some explosive ball work that's like supposed to be explosive that is really not.
Like when you were boxing.
Yeah, so fast.
So funny because both times Amy did it as well, and I was like, you're so fast. And she's like, nah, Ben's better. And I'm like, why do I just laugh at Ben?
Because Ben's supposed to be faster and he is not. You're just stuffing around and you're better.
Literally, he's talented. So
hey, can you hear my chair squeaking?
I can. Stop doing that.
Yeah,
Tam's going to yell at you.
Yeah, sorry, Tam, and everyone else listening.
Well, I think we should probably talk about something of value
sure.
today.
Sure. I've had coffee, so I can talk about anything.
Yeah, me too. So what we wanted to talk to you guys about today was kind of like the difference between, I guess, the different avenues of coaching that you can kind of go with. So most people will know that we primarily work in the online space, and especially being in lockdown and whatnot over the last 18 months, we've had to work in the online space. But prior to that, we obviously worked out of health clubs and gyms. And more recently, we're working with women in the education space around learning how to coach themselves. We've had quite a few conversations with people recently as well. I guess just looking at the different system that I guess they would slot themselves into best. So what we kind of wanted to unpack in this episode was for those of you who are, either currently coaching yourselves at the moment, working with a coach on a gym floor, or in the online space, some of the things that we need to consider, I guess, where you would meet yourself where you're at type scenario, so that you can get the best result possible, because like we understand that not everyone is built for each system. It's going to be dependent on a variety of different things. So it's probably just worthwhile knowing where to start yourself off, so you can maximize your results and obviously do that in the most efficient way possible.
Yeah, it's something that we even have built into like taking clients on as well. So this is what we kind of go through in those initial conversations to be like, can I get a result for this person? Is I guess the thought process we go through. I think, we'll go through the pros and cons of all of them today, but I think a lot of people, the access to a personality online seems really appealing sometimes. And there's such a grand scale of what online PT, online coaching sort of means that it's people can get trapped into thinking that it's going to be right for them when maybe they actually probably should be with a face-to-face coach, or vice versa, that they've gone beyond needing someone to watch them train at this point. And they can go into the online space. Then obviously something that like I'm playing with right now is like self-coaching, just like writing my own programs, dealing with my own nutrition, holding myself accountable, and what's involved with that as a consideration as well. Because I think a lot of people like to play with this stuff, whether it's a financial thing or just like they like to nerd out on it. So knowing, I guess, what the variables are to consider before you make that decision.
Yeah, I think there's like a natural evolution as well. Like as you kind of start and progress, like you'll kind of realize what you need and how that changes. With like the online stuff, like you said, it's probably also important to unpack like what you get as a part of that service too. Because like we've had conversations before with like our online packages that like, wow, this is a lot. It's maybe not for me right now because of X, Y, and Z. So it's like what you get within one online service might be different to what you get within another. And you might need like a development of that or like a regression of that, which is all going to be based on, where you're at as an individual. So it's not as probably as simple as like, I like the way that coach looks like on Instagram, like she's hot, I'm going to go with her. There's probably a lot more that needs to go into considering who you work with and why.
Yeah, don't hire me just because I have good Belfie.
Debatable. I know about that.
Yeah, I think like, when did you start face-to-face? Did you do any face-to-face coaching like as a client?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did 3 years of it. Probably overstayed my welcome because I didn't have access to other stuff. Like I wasn't getting a program. I wasn't getting like data tracking on my own. Like I wasn't given what I needed to be independent. So I wasn't aware of like, anything else that kind of existed. I was like, this is just how it is. Like I need to train with you more frequently in order to know what I'm doing. And that's it. So I kind of like stuck with that for 3 years until, I was just like, oh, there's another way. So that's kind of like how that happened for me. But then even like being more advanced, I still came back to face with Jace just because I liked it. Like social interaction, learn some stuff, all of that stuff as well. So like there is other things to consider there too.
Yeah, I think what might be cool is to introduce the concept of, it's called Price's Law. And they use it in economics, they use it in nature, use it in heaps of different shit. And it's scary accurate how good it is. But essentially it means that the square root of the group will create 50% of all outcomes. So the larger the overall group, the smaller the percentage of high quality, say, skill sets or outcomes or whatever. So I think I did the math on it based on how many personal trainers we have in Australia. There's something like 200 that you would say are high end, like the best of the best. And they probably have 50% of the clients, or they get 50% of the outcomes, and they're in that upper echelon. And then there's a sliding scale on from there. And there's something like 30,000 PTs in Australia. So I think it's important to introduce this idea that at this point in time, in what are we, September 2021, most people, if you're listening to this, have probably had a coaching experience of some description, face-to-face, online, done a course even. It's really important to understand that, particularly it gets thrown around like in our industry a lot, but it happens in every industry. Like there's only so many good plumbers. There's only so many good builders. You can go to 10 different doctors and 9 of them be shit. So it's really important to actually do your due diligence on what you need, what you want, and get the right person for the job. Not just like you said earlier, like he or she's hot, I'm going to work with them, or their clients are lean, I'm going to work with them. It's like, what actually works in the scope of what you want to do. And I've had consults where I've gone, this is not right for you, what I do, because I'm not going to be able to get you the outcome that you need or support you the way that you need to be supported. And I've had people kind of into their terms that I'm like, look, this isn't it for you. You need to go and do something else because this model doesn't work. So being really clear on what you need and what you want, I think, is the first place to come from. And then understand that, like anything else in the world, there's a sliding scale of quality.
Yeah, I think as well, when it comes to coaching, you've got to have a bit of internal reflection as well on how you respond to that. So whether or not you learn best in a hands-on environment, or whether you're able to communicate effectively. If you are doing a check-in, like you get sometimes check-ins that are like 3 words long and you're like, I don't know what you're thinking right now. So it's like, maybe like it might work for someone, it might not work for someone who needs added support. So as well, being able to like understand where you're at and how you receive, communicate information and learn things to actually maximize that system. Otherwise, it's just not going to work no matter what.
Yeah. And maybe we'll drop in, because we obviously mentioned the 3 like coaching options. It's like face-to-face, online, and then coaching yourself. There's probably one before that that's like using a touch-free product from a coach. So I kind of went face-to-face, touch-free, face-to-face, then online, if that makes any sense. So kind of cut my teeth, learned how to move, all that kind of stuff, and then found a program online that I really liked. Generic templated stuff. Looking back at it now, I probably should have only spent 3 months on it, not a year on it. But I got out of it what I needed to at the time. So I think that's a consideration as well. And if you're in a realm where maybe you haven't had the experience with a face-to-face and you've got such and such as PDF downloads with videos and all of that kind of stuff. It's the same questions, like, are you getting what you need out of it to get the maximal outcome? It's always interesting how little value people put on their time. Like if you're spending, say, an hour a day, 5 days a week, anything else in your life, if you were to do for 5 hours a week and not see an outcome, you would not fucking do it.
Yeah.
So it's a weird thing that I see happen. It's like people are just repeatedly, and I think it's based on the idea that it's just work harder and willpower.
Yeah.
You're just told, like, do it again, do it again, do it again, do it again. It's like, well, nothing's fucking happening. Like at some point, do it again isn't the answer. So consideration to that, if you are in like that PDF sort of zone right now, even like a YouTube workout guide or whatever it is, if it's not working, maybe it's not just work harder. Maybe it's not just motivation. Maybe you're not motivated and you're not working hard because the model doesn't work for you.
Yeah. When I said the evolution, I think that almost happens because you stop getting results. So like you stick with something that worked for a little bit and it eventually stops working. So you're like, okay, I need to do something different. Probably after spinning your wheels, doing the same shit for too long and wasting time. And then you get frustrated and you're like, all right, what's the next step? So you take a more refined approach, and then that might be face-to-face. And then, you know, the service might not be what you need at some point. It's like, okay, what's the next more refined version of that? Deliberate online coaching or programming or whatever that looks like for you.
Yeah. So let's go down that rabbit hole, I guess. So we have a touch-free product. It's slightly on a different comes from a different angle. It's obviously more education-based. So if you're going to get that, you're looking for that option. The pros there, obviously, it's cheap. Like you can pay bugger all because most people that are selling those want to sell them in bulk. They've tend to have like a following, so they're able to sell lots of them, and that's how they make their money. And they've probably got some kind of sponsorship and shit for their just looking the way that they look typically. Not all the time, but often. So if you're kind of looking at that, pro is that it's cheap. Also pro is that like if you're newer, a little bit more intimidated, the PTs look a little bit scary, you've just stepped foot in the door, better to have that than nothing. I think we did an episode ages ago where you were sort of like, I just went in and used the treadmill and 3 pieces of equipment and went home. Yeah. Like I would rather someone have some Fitspo's PDF program than that. Yeah. Like at least you've got some structure, you've got something that's measured, you can progress it a little bit over time at least. But obviously the cons, like you experienced, it doesn't last very long. I experienced the same things. Like I was using an IFBB bodybuilders program for a year, wondering why I wasn't growing. Yeah. Like, because I was doing IFBB workouts without IFBB supplementation. Like, of course you're not growing. Like you can't handle this much work. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's important to acknowledge that is probably actually a stage for some people. Yeah. The next step from that would be if you're a little bit more confident or maybe financially things are a little bit more, you've got a higher priority on what you're trying to do and what you want to achieve. Walking straight in the door and hiring a PT straight away is also a brilliant idea. Yeah. They achieve the same outcome of like, you can go and be confident and do something that's probably going to get you some form of outcome. One of them will continue to get an outcome much, much longer and will cover way more bases. Again, if you get a PT inside that Price's Law kind of environment, will cover more bases over the long term than the PDF program would.
Yeah, I think if you are like new to the gym, you're struggling with confidence, you haven't really used much equipment, you don't really know what you're doing, should almost be just like a prerequisite, like go and work with a coach at some point if it's within your means, because like there's so many other things that you wouldn't go into it not knowing what you're doing because it's unsafe, it's dangerous, it's a waste of time. I think we should be approaching our training in the same way. It just, it blows my mind. I know that personally it was the first thing that I did, was just like have a couple of sessions and run with it on my own for a bit. And then I was like, no, got to go back to this because like I don't know what I'm doing and it's just wasting time. And
like the likelihood of me actually continuing on with this, if I don't know what I'm doing, is pretty slim. So I better like sort that out real quick. Otherwise I'm just going to go back to square one.
Yeah. So if you were to advise yourself, so you mentioned like you had a P2 that didn't really have the complete service, let's say.
Yeah.
Maybe even their face-to-face service was great. They had a good relationship with you. For you to stay for 3 years, I assume you liked them.
Yeah.
But what advice would you give yourself walking in the door now, knowing that you're going to probably hire a PT? What would you be looking for?
Yeah. So that's still probably a really important one. So the personal relationship side of things, I think that that's super important, just to have like that almost like safety and like be able to communicate things and feel like you've been heard and all of those things. Transparency, that's really important when it comes to like a client coach relationship. I think that's even more important in a face-to-face environment. Obviously, if you're spending time with this person regularly, frequently, 1 to 3 times per week, like you want to kind of like them and get along with them. Outside of that, it's probably like ask more questions, like find out what you should have available to you and what you can be offered. I remember thinking like, should I ask for a program? Should I have a program? What do I do? But I was just too scared to ask. So I was like, I'll just do another session because that's all I knew. So it went from one session to, well, for me to know what I'm doing outside of this, then I need to do another session with her. And then if I wanted to train more frequently, improve my results again, it was like, okay, well, now I've got to do 3 sessions and spend all of my life savings on personal training, which at 18 years old is not a smart thing to do.
Good business model.
Literally. So it's probably just to ask more questions and find out what's actually available to you so that you can then have autonomy in your decision making around what's appropriate. And you've got a little bit more empowerment around what you have, and then you can go off and be way more independent outside of those sessions too, because outside of those sessions I was totally lost. It's like, yeah, sweet, I see you 3 times per week, but I go to the gym 5 times per week and 2 times per week. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So can someone provide me a little bit of direction so that help. Help. I don't know what I'm doing. And these 2 sessions per week are probably just wasting my time as much as I was previously. So yeah, that's probably up there with the priorities when you walk into a gym and you don't actually know what's involved in personal training, because most people don't if you haven't done it before.
Yeah, I think that's a huge part of it. And there's like coming at this from like someone who educates PTs as well, like the minimum standard that we have for when we are coaching guys is like, your clients must have a program, they must have nutrition support, they must have a check-in, and they must have external resources.
Yeah.
Like, and we refer to like the whiteboard trainer as just like the trainer that shows up with either a new session every day, or worse, they literally have a whiteboard set up and you just do a fucking random workout every day and go home. So I think they're your minimums. Like you should be provided with a program, nutrition, guidance. Doesn't have to be macros, like doesn't have to be meal plans or anything like that. Like by our insurance, like PTs really should only be talking about like the Australian standards unless they have further education. So they can refer you to stuff to think about, but not write meal plans or anything like that. So a program, nutrition guidance, we'll call it, some kind of check-in process so you can assess how things are moving. They would be the 3 core elements. And then I would say, ideally, you want some back-end resources as well. So you've got the opportunity to learn. So high road versus low road personal trainers, high road personal trainers, their goal should be to empower the client to be able to do things by themselves. It's like train them so well they don't need you, but they like the process so much that they want you.
Yeah.
That would be the goal to work with every client.
Yeah.
That's what we try and achieve even with our online guys. It's like we hope that when you leave from us, you can continue to follow the processes that we've taught you forever.
Yeah.
You don't need me anymore, but it's like for the same reasons we have coaches, it's really nice to outsource and have other people manage that shit. So that's the goal that you're trying to create. Whereas a low road personal trainer tends to be more about like keeping you. So like that model that your trainer has, like, oh, if I give her a program, she might leave. It's like, if you sense that, abort, like fucking hit the button and get out as quick as you can. Cause it's like, that's not creating an environment that's going to work for you. Most people are going to train in some way, shape, or form for, I hope, 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
Are you willing to pay someone 3 times a week for the next 20 years? Or do you actually need to learn about training and learn about nutrition and learn about programming so you can do it yourself?
I think that this advice is just applicable to most people listening to this who aren't working with someone at the moment. Even just like reflecting on consults in the past, it's like most people that we speak to are doing like all of the stuff on the other side. So it's like, I just show up, I don't follow a program, we change the session on a week-to-week basis, I don't get any management of my nutrition outside of what I'm doing. And like, that's like speaking about Price's Law that you spoke about, it's like, that's the majority right now. So for those of you listening to this, if you find yourself in that kind of like group of people right now, it's like, that might be normal because it's what a lot of people are doing, but that's not like optimal. It's not kind of where we want to be. So just, I guess, like reflecting on that and thinking about that from a larger scale as well.
And you'll be really surprised at the difference in price.
Right.
I think people think like, oh fuck, it's going to be super expensive to get someone that does all of that.
We hear it all the time.
Yeah. The price difference isn't that much. Like, we often get people that are like that. And it's like, oh fuck, is that it? I've been paying more than that.
Yeah.
Like, I had a girl break down in my office one day and just cry. She was like, I've been paying this much for a quarter of what you offer. And I was like, oh, maybe I should put my prices up. But yeah, like, I think the goal then is like to give you guys an insight from a personal trainer's headspace there as well. Is if they're good at their job, they'll have great retention. They don't have to charge as much because they keep their clients for a really long time and everything's kind of cruisy. Whereas someone who's struggling will try and charge a little bit more. And then again, they're in this cycle of like scared to lose people. So they do. So yeah, just a consideration there as well. Yeah. So yeah, I think like to expand on what you sort of said with the face-to-face thing. And I'm sorry to any brand new personal trainers that are out there. When I say this, like, if you join a gym and you get offered like your 3-pack with a coach, they're going to assign you to the people that need to build the business. Get out on the floor, find the PT that says hello to you, find the PT that's engaged with their clients, find the PT that you see their clients following a structure, you see their clients come in when their PT's not there, you see a personal trainer who, not necessarily hands-on is probably the wrong word, but like is involved. They're not just counting reps watching TV. Like,
it's engaged in the session.
Yeah. Paying attention to what's going on. A little bit of banter is great. Obviously you have a job to do. So the whole session shouldn't be high five and ass slaps. Like that you've got a process to do as well. And then keep an eye out for listening for like, are they talking about programming? Are they talking about information? Are they doing any of that? Or what we see often in our industry is talking about my training and my weekend, and pay attention for that as a warning sign as well.
Yeah, like I'm almost forgotten what it's like to be on the gym floor because it's been that fucking long because we've been in lockdown, but you would be surprised at how much you can learn if you just pay attention to what's actually happening on the gym floor. Like my clients could scope it out in like half an hour and they just knew exactly what was going on and, you know, who you could go to and who maybe to avoid, because like you can just, if you pay attention, you can find all of those things out. So have your wits about you and have some awareness when you go into there.
It's always uncomfortable when your client's like, why are they doing that? And it's like, I don't want to say to entertain their client or get stupid, but because it's stupid.
My clients are just like,
I think they're trying to achieve this, whether or not that's the most effective way to do it. That's on them. As long as the client's happy, we're happy. Like, yeah.
No, my clients are literally like, should they be doing that? Or does that look right? And I'm just like, what do you reckon? Like, if you have to ask me, what do you think? Just answers your own question.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess if you're going to take that 3-session pack when you sign up, like everyone's going to get offered that when they come back. To the people that are in Melbourne, New South Wales open up next week. When you all come back, those phone calls are coming.
Yeah.
PTs have been out of the gym
Brace
for a long
yourselves.
time. They're fucking coming. So like entertain the idea that, yeah, I'm interested, but I want to actually know what the service is about. I think people get this impression that like the personal trainer that calls them is the personal trainer that works for that gym. And then that's what personal training is, just that person at the gym. It's like in 90% of cases these days, each trainer inside a gym is an independent business owner. So they all do things completely different to each other. So the standard of one is not the standard of the other. So just be willing to like maybe ask a few more questions before you book that consult, before you sit down with someone, and just investigate a little bit more. If you have the opportunity to walk around the gym floor and see who's busy, who's not, who's sitting on behind the counter at reception, who's not, who's putting weights away, who's not, like all those just little, like our t-shirts, just be less shit. Like find the trainers in the gym who are being less shit. It's like it's a good little clue to maybe they are there to serve more than they are to serve their clients, more than they're there to serve themselves.
Yeah, I would say that it's probably a lot easier, like I said, to be able to scope that out in a physical environment. So then when we start to move on to the online space, like that process becomes a whole lot harder because it's way easier to filter through what you would like someone else to see, you know, from the other side. So that investigation process in terms of like getting an online coach and what that looks like and what you're exposed to and the service that's involved and how that plays out probably needs a lot more attention rather than just like scanning the profile grid and just liking what you see, you know, from the outskirts.
And let's think about like where you're at when you've got a face-to-face coach. You probably need someone to teach you technique, teach you how to do the movements. A lot of people like the idea of being pushed by a PT as much as we're not that kind of group. We're not the fucking one more like over your shoulder. Like that's not us. You've got a prescribed rep and reserve and we'll tell you if you hit it or not, but that's it.
That's it.
So I think, okay, so I want technique. I want that maybe that little bit of just someone's watching, so I have to go a little bit harder. I'll cheat by myself. The accountability, I've got an appointment, I have to show up. That's a huge pro to obviously having a face-to-face. If you are someone that maybe training is a little bit lower on your importance hierarchy, like you got other shit, a face-to-face coach, I know I've worked with a lot of people who just outsource their health and fitness. They don't want to know what programming means. They don't want to know what macros mean. They don't want to know any of that shit. They just want to come, train, and they want to know what to do when I'm not here. And I just want to do that. So if that's you, like that's totally fine. Like props to you for still pursuing a health and fitness outcome, even though like you don't actually value it as a passion like what we do. That's suitable for face-to-face. Moving to online, it's like, well, what are you kind of going there for? Well, now you've got probably flexibility in terms of when and how you want to train. You probably, in most cases, that importance hierarchy is increased. I don't want to say it as a general rule, but like maybe stereotypically the people who have gone online from having a face-to-face business that have moved online are probably in that top percentile of coaches because they manage to systemize things enough to go online. Now there's caveats to that. There's lots of people that still have just took a shit service online, but in most cases it's like, I can't keep doing 50 sessions a week. I need a better method. I'm working with athletic population who train for 60, 90, 120 minutes sometimes. I'm watching them train because they're so well drilled and they're so motivated and they're so like the type of person that they work with is they've got a higher importance on training and they're probably more highly skilled and they're probably more deeply niched who they work with as well. Whereas someone on the gym floor works with everyone in the gym more often than not. Online, typically it's like you work with a specific person. So what else are we considering? So we got the technique things. Like I know we ask, can you squat, bench, and deadlift? And even like Jason does that for his physique guys as well, just because it's a little litmus test of can you move? Do you know what you're doing? Are you comfortable? Like, Because if you don't know how to do those movements, like there's a good chance that online's going to be too far of a step.
Yeah.
If you're not proficient in movement, at least to a degree, you haven't done it before, go face to face for a bit.
Yeah.
And then go work with your favorite online coach. We can refine technique. Like I coach powerlifters online and we can dial in technique, but if you don't have the foundation, it's very difficult.
Yeah. You want to have done it to some extent before. Like I know I've had a lot of clients come through who aren't confident in it, but they've done it. They're just like, I don't know if this is right or if this is what I'm doing. But they're still in a position where they're willing to like fuck it up and try something. Maybe take the videos, confident enough to record themselves in the gym, like put themselves out there enough just to see where they're at, opposed to have never attempted that before. And it's all just like foreign language to them. Yeah.
Because realistically, you can only look at so many videos per week.
Yeah.
So if you don't have a foundation of movement, it's very hard for the coach to improve that over time. Like we try our best. We have 12 hours of footage of like, here's how to train.
Yeah.
But I think that in-person adjustment stuff is really valuable from a face-to-face environment before you go online, just knowing how to train a little bit. So what did I say? We got technique, obviously flexibility with time. The systemization online should be really clear because like to run as a trainer, as a coach, the hardest part moving from face-to-face to online is you don't have as much communication.
Yeah.
So your systems for it to work need to be like A+. And that's why I was saying like online coaching attracts a higher level of client. So they have to micromanage those things better for things to be able to work. So you're typically going to have good systems that you can plug into. Those people that are outsourcing, like I just show up and do what my trainer tells me to do on the day, or look at my program when I get there and train and go home. That is questionable whether online's going to be there for you. Like if you can look at your program and that's it, sweet. If you're like, I don't want to think about anything, have any input in this and just be told, online's going to be a bit sketchy. It's a bit more of a two-way street than face-to-face.
Yeah. I think with online, like there is an element of you kind of get back what you put in. And like I've said it to clients before, I'm like, if I don't get anything else from you, I can't help you to the best of my ability because I don't really know what's going on. And they're like, oh yeah, like that makes sense. Especially if you're naturally just like that short, blunt person that's just like, you know, in out, gets shit done. And it's like, why do I need to tell you more? Like, I'm fine. But from the other perspective, it's like the coach doesn't know that you're fine if you don't actually tell them that you're fine. So you've got to be able to input a little bit more effort into that system. Otherwise, on either side, it can kind of just fall flat a little bit.
Yeah, because there's stuff as a face-to-face PT that you pick up on inside those sessions that it's really challenging to ask all of those questions.
Yeah.
Because then you've got to balance that like client input of, do you want to spend an hour and a half doing a check-in? And that like depth of knowledge as the coach to make decisions. So if you see someone like get out of a leg press and they wince, you're like, hey, what's up? But if they just like, oh, that was a bit stiff and clunky, and they never tell you, you missed that level of communication in the online environment. Or, hey, you've seemed flat this week. What's going on? If that's not in your data, I can't see
I don't know.
Like it's like we can pick up on language and we get better at doing that, like picking up on mood just based on what they're saying about their results and stuff. And there's a skill set to that, but there's nothing like seeing someone walk in and you're like, hey, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah.
Like, is it training and diet, or is it outside the gym? It's like, hey, you need to take it easy this week. Like that decision making isn't available unless the client provides it. So you have to be willing to communicate.
Yeah. And like to some extent you get those personalities that are just like that. Like I've got a client who has like 3 words, check-in for every box. KPIs are all sweet, like 10 out of 10 every week. Never had an issue. And I'm like, I don't need anything else. Like, I know you're all good. That's just who you are. But in terms of like the difference between face-to-face to online, it's probably going to be like that priorities aspect where it's like, this is now higher up on your values list. So you've got to be willing to give an extra half an hour to fill out your spreadsheet or fill out your program so your coach can actually read it and know what happened in your training sessions. And all of that is more so a reflection of how important it is to you, because you've got to be willing to give the extra time to that, outside of just showing up to a half an hour session a week or whatever it is.
Yeah. Exercise prescription stuff is another one. Like if you give someone a program in a face-to-face environment, they're like, what's this? You can show them.
Yeah.
Whereas it's like, hey, you might need to search that or look at our exercise library or watch this video or whatever. So you need to kind of input that little bit of time and effort and ownership. I think that you could probably sum it up with that. It's like more ownership. The ownership goes from more leaning towards the face-to-face coach to the online coach. It's a lot more shared, I think.
Yeah.
In that relationship. So if you want to just like put your results on somebody else, stay with face-to-face. Most face-to-face coaches that are busy and really good won't let you.
Yeah.
But you can try. You can get a little bit more out of it that way.
Yeah.
But in an online environment, I think you'll actually miss out on value by not taking ownership of the situation. Like even I've got clients the same as the one you just mentioned, that are like, most weekends are like, one of my girls just like, all gravy as always.
Yeah.
It's like, but when it's not, it's like, it's not.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, like this happened, this happened, this happened. What do you think I should do? This is coming up next week. What do you think I should do? And we have that interactive sort of relationship that we make changes when it's need to. And I trust her to tell me, and she trusts me to give an answer and not like be frustrated if she does tell me.
Yeah. I think that's probably the biggest thing from a online client's perspective. If you're like that independent person who will just kind of like, go in, and it's kind of like the person that we work with, like, we both have clients like that are just like in, out, like do what I need to do. I'll let you know if something's wrong. Then when something's wrong, it's like, there's got to be a solution. Like it can't just be like, try better next week, or like, let's just see what happens again, or, any of those kind of like vague answers. Like there's got to be a system in place that you can rely on when shit hits a fan, because like it will at some point.
Yeah. And honestly, like I'm that client too.
I was just thinking that as I said that, I'm like, Jace doesn't hear from me until something's wrong. And I'm like, hey, help me. And then it's like, I'm sweet.
Yeah. I frequently used to get a message on check-in day, like, hey man, like, what's happening? It's like, if you haven't heard from me, everything's good, bro.
I'm fine.
Like,
Literally me the last 3 weeks.
There's enough data there to tell you that everything's okay. And then like a few weeks later, like, all right, this hurts, or like something's coming up, I need to reduce training time or whatever. Like that, there's an obstacle that I need to overcome and I need your help with it.
Yeah. Cool. Is there anything else from like an online perspective that stands out to you that we haven't covered yet?
I think from a pro's standpoint, that ownership provides a lot of fulfillment. We obviously talk about language, and that when a client gets a result, they get a result, like not we. I put a post up ages ago that was like, I'm a coach, my clients get results, not me.
Yeah.
So I think that online coach relationship empowers you to have more control over what's going on. You can have that relationship with a face-to-face coach as well. It's just less common. So again, finding a good face-to-face coach that'll have that mindset as well. But yeah, I think having that is probably beneficial. I think if you're the type of person that we work with and we attract, are like, they're spending more than an hour in the gym more often than not. 45 minutes plus, up to, for a powerlifter, like 90 minutes, 2 hours sometimes.
3 for me.
Yeah, 3 if you're on your phone or playing with Indigo. So I think if you're that person, paying for that time would be rough. So I think an online coach is better in that environment. Anything that you have a specific outcome, you already know how to move, you already are disciplined, you already show up and apply yourself and all of that. I personally would recommend someone like that go online, It's more cost effective. You probably overall get maybe a better service even than you would face-to-face, or alternatively, the person that you're working with, if they are that good, it's almost online anyway with sessions thrown in, because that system is all in place. It's just you show up sometimes and work out with them.
Yeah.
Because you lack that accountability or whatever. So
yeah,
I think that would be where you're at. If you're, the one thing I would say not to do is don't hire an online coach for motivation.
Yeah.
Or at least don't hire us.
Yeah. Yeah. It depends who you hire, but it's not us.
Yeah. Like if you want structure to apply yourself to get a result and be held accountable, and accountability you think is going to help you be present, then by all means. And that's what I use coaching for typically, is accountability and also mental lag. Like I don't have to think about it. I'd rather just pay someone else to do it. So I think, if you're in that boat, if you're in a position where I want to achieve something very specific and I'm taking ownership of it online, good. If not, probably not. Motivation is not what an online coach is about.
Yeah, you've got to be self-motivated.
Yeah, like, we're not going to be in the gym smacking you on the back saying good job every set. Like it's not.
Or even like outside of your check-ins, it's like most coaches, or certainly us, like won't be messaging you daily to find out whether or not you've done your session or hit your macros. Or like I have seen coaches do updates on step counts and step checks and shit like that. And it's like, fuck, that is so far from it. Like that is not happening here, because like you've got to be that self-motivated, independent
sounds
person.
Anxiety inducing as the client.
Yeah. And it kind of like builds this dictatorship with that relationship around client coach, rather than it being like your result and you're responsible for it. It's like, no, I'm going to be on your back every 24 hours to make sure that you did what you needed to do. Like, I want you to get a result as much as you do, but like, that's not happening. So you've got to be able to like get your ass out of bed and do that for yourself.
Look for empowerment rather than dependence.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it.
Yeah,
I like.
So if we're confident with showing up, we've got a little bit of an idea about programming, nutrition, we've been doing things for a while. At what point have you ever coached yourself?
Look, I think there's like two ways to look at this, because the coach yourself like kind of goes from like the beginner to the person who actually knows what they're doing.
It's opposite ends of the scale.
Yeah.
Right?
So it's like the person who's like, oh, I'm just managing stuff on my own. Like, I've been that person, went real shit. That's why I hired Jason. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like you speak to a lot of people who are like, yeah, I'm just doing it on my own, or I'm just, doing my own training, or I'm just doing my own nutrition, but they don't actually know what the fuck they're doing. And it's like, that's not coaching yourself. That's just, you're lost and confused, and you maybe just don't value this enough to invest enough time into it to actually do it properly. Yeah, I've been there. I've never actually managed things on my own outside of that.
Yeah. I think in my experience, I've done a lot of periods where I consulted with people.
Yeah.
Where like my first prep, I did a consultative model. And even the coaches I've worked with has been like pretty clear up front, like, hey, I want to kind of learn as much as I want the coaching element. I like want to figure this out.
Yeah.
At the moment, it's like because I have no fucking idea how to program running. I've brought someone in to write that segment of the program, but sort of said like, hey, what are the considerations for my own program? What do I need to think about? And just playing and testing stuff. And there's three of us training on it. So it's like getting feedback of how that works and nerding out on that kind of shit. I self-coached early on a little bit. I sort of like worked with Jace pretty solid for a while, did it by myself following that PDF program. Then I was like paying him just to beat the shit out of me on leg day. And then, I probably did a good block of 2-3 years by myself. So I did a course, and that's obviously what we'll probably go into today, is not just like I decided I was going to manage things by myself. It was like I paid a fairly substantial amount of money, did a course over 6 months, turned out to be 12 months actually, and use the knowledge from that to start figuring out things for myself.
Yeah, most people take the opposite approach.
Yeah,
which is where things fall apart, because in order to manage yourself, you actually have to know what you're working with, and most people don't know what they're working with, so they just choose to manage themselves because maybe they can't be held accountable, and it's, you know, less scary, and, you know, there's not that much emphasis on like what they need to do so you can get away with shit. But like, you've almost got to be the combination of the person who knows what they're doing and is self-motivated, you know, and doesn't need to rely on anything else in order to actually be able to coach yourself. Like, that's the last step, not the first one.
Yeah, I think it's an extra challenge, not an easier approach. And I think
it's like, I've got everything figured out. Like, now I can try and do it on my own without relying on you. But you can't miss that step. Otherwise, it's just shit show.
Yeah. So if you're in a position, even if you like, I think of a few like friends, I guess, that I have on Instagram, people that I chat to and stuff, that do things for themselves. And it's like, it's the shiny red ball syndrome. It's just like, oh, this program model's cool, or this glute exercise is cool, or this diet is cool. And they're just jumping from thing to thing all the time. I think the message really is you have to invest at some point. Where you choose to invest, and I mean financially and like emotionally, energy wise, like you're going to have to invest at some point to get to a point where this is all self-sustainable, because there's so much shit, man. Like I understand the red ball syndrome because I've been there and done it. I've taken all the fucking supplements, and that's how I know they don't work when I tell my clients they don't work, because I fucking took them. I used to drive home from the gym if I didn't have them with me when I got there. Like, I get it. And I've jumped from program to program, and I've done the fasting, the fucking carb cycling, any method that you can think of, I've done it. And if I shit on it, I've probably done it.
That's why I'm shitting on it.
Except for vegan and vegetarian, because I just really fucking like meat. So I think most people don't appreciate, again, it's come back to that. Is there anything else in your life that you would invest the amount of emotional energy, time, and resources into that you would be okay with not getting a result for? Most people will say no. So consider that and think, well, if you're going to invest 5 hours a week, 4 hours a week, even 3 hours a week for the next 5 years, how much time, what is it worth to you for that to create positive outcomes? Because it's got to be worth something. And when you really sit back and think about it, and it's like, I'm going to waste 5 years, 3 times a week, 52 weeks a year. I can't do the math on that in my head. It's 150 sessions a week. 150 sessions a year by 5 years. Are you willing to just try and figure it out and jump program to program and follow a Fitspo for ideas for that long?
Yeah, I think if you are someone who's managing this on your own right now, you've got to ask yourself the question of whether you don't care enough or whether you care enough. Like, if you care too much, if you care a lot, you'll be willing to do all of that stuff because it's a high priority for you. So if you're sitting there and saying to yourself, like, like I'm just managing things on my own right now, but you're not doing any of that stuff, like you're not investing, you're not putting in extra time, money, energy, like whatever it is, then you're in the camp where you don't care enough. And you might feel like you do because it's actually like you really want to look a certain way or you want to perform a certain way and you're really emotionally attached to the outcome. But if those actions aren't reflected in like going that extra mile, then like you don't care enough to be able to do that. So that's probably the way you differentiate that.
Yeah. And like, even right now, like I talk about like that time that I was self-coached. I was in a program that I could message people and find out stuff. I would, even right now, it's like I'm self-coached right now, but I have probably 5 to 6 people that I will reach out to when I'm unsure or to get confirmation on what I'm doing is a good idea. Personally, I think they're probably in their areas, like in the top 1% in Australia inside like those 5 people. So it's not just like I just make shit up. It's like, I go and figure out what's going on. So one question to ask yourself when you're thinking about, I'm just taking care of things on my own. If you're not going to someone else for confirmation, ideas, like spitballing, that for me would be a warning sign.
Yeah.
Where
you
are you
still got to have a
bouncing
circle
information off?
Yeah.
So like you said, if you're in a position at the moment where it's like you're just not willing to invest, like you're just doing it on your own because you're not willing to invest some time, energy, and maybe some money, then you obviously would probably need to just accept the lack of outcomes for that. The flip side of that, if you're a geek like me, Nat, Jason, when he's on here, pretty much all the guests that we'll have coming on here as well, and you like this shit, you like talking about it, you can have a coffee at 12 o'clock on a Wednesday afternoon and talk about it for 90 minutes, then maybe doing it yourself is a great idea. And playing with that and like enjoying the ins and outs and the wins and the getting to week 3 of your program and going, yep, 100 sets was too much and changing it. Like, I think it's a valuable experience if we call it like the gym nerd thing. If you're a gym nerd and you like figuring it out and you like listening to fitness podcasts and programming and going to the seminars and paying the money to learn from the best, like, then fucking go do it.
Yeah,
but you're gonna need to understand that you're going to require a level of education to be able to achieve great results from that.
Yeah, I think that the like self-coaching thing has always primarily been the person who doesn't know what they're doing or is kind of just like floundering around, not willing to invest in like an online coach or a face-to-face coach yet. I am yet to see, like, outside of what we're doing at the moment, like an education course around nurturing that for that person. So if you guys are if you are that person or you resonate with what we're kind of saying here, then the Be Bulletproof course that we have just come out with, we've just finished up round 1. So we will be launching round 2 really soon. I think within the next 4 weeks we'll be starting. Then this would be a really perfect avenue for you to be able to take to facilitate all of that for yourself. Like I said, I don't think I've seen much of that around, just in terms of like the education around being able to self-coach yourself in a really productive manner. So
there's no totally holistic model.
No. So if you are
you can do nutrition somewhere, you can do programming somewhere, you can do goal setting somewhere, but I am not aware of anything in the world, let alone here, that facilitates it start to finish, everything you need to be able to leave the program and go, right, I can work on this by myself, and I've got a community of people that I can talk to bounce ideas off, and like you said, have that circle to make sure that what I'm doing is on the right track
and actually be able to get results. Because, like, to be honest, most people who manage things on their own don't. And like, that was me. Like, Jace came up to me and was like, when will you let me coach you? When will you let me write you a program? Because we can get good results. And I was like, okay. But I mean, most people who aren't doing that for themselves, who are doing that for themselves, aren't actually getting results because they don't know what they're doing. So if you're going to be the person who manages it on your own, be the person who actually gets results for yourself as well. Like, that's a real rewarding way and empowering way to go about it. So yeah, you may as well just maximize that and actually be proud of what you achieve.
Yeah, even if you're a coach too, like, I think it's so useful. PTs have this stigma around hiring other PTs. It's like, how can I tell my clients what to do if I'm asking someone else what to do? And I think it's such a broken model. Like, I've had probably 80% of the time that I've been a coach, I've had one. And I've never had a client leave. I've definitely never had a client leave me for the coach I'm working with, because, well, if you're coaching Ben, then you must be even smarter than Ben. So I'm going to work with them. It's like, no, it's not how it works. Like Nat said, so a lot of this is personal relationship stuff, and being able to get to wherever the client is on a particular level. So yeah, if you've got your cert and you want to play around with your own stuff and test your own systems, and that's essentially what I like to do, is create a system and have other people look at it and go, hey, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? What considerations would you do? Then do that. But make sure you've actually got the people to go to, and you've got the information coming in, whether it's an investment. So look, honestly, I think for PTs in their first 1 to 3 years, this course would be awesome for them as well. Because like, you don't have to tell everyone you've got a personal trainer. If you're insecure about that, you can go and learn the foundations to then apply to yourself.
Yeah. And our coaches are doing it as well. Like, they've just gone through the first round. So tried and tested.
Yeah. So I think the only difference, if we compared like online to figuring it out on your own, you need to be invested in education. So the accountability part gets removed, and the demand of education increases as well. So the time and energy input on that side of things is going to increase. Yeah,
agreed. I think that is the trade-off, and the flip side of that is that it's way more empowering if you've done it on your own. I think that the person who does that for themselves takes that away and like actually really, really enjoys the fulfillment that comes from that. So investing that extra added time isn't necessarily like a negative. It's like, I really fucking like this process. Like, this is the shit that I do in my spare time.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean you can never outsource ever again either. Like, I go in and out of that every couple of years. Like, I worked with Will for 3 years, I think. Before that, I was by myself for 2 years, had coaches for 12 months before that, and so on and so on. Like, probably had 6 or 7 coaches over my time. And then flipped into doing it myself. And it typically depends on what my schedule's like, what my goals are like. Like, once I decided to compete, it was like, well, I'm not guessing this anymore.
Yeah.
I want someone that's specific right now. It's like, I just want to be like Captain America.
Yeah.
Be strong, be able to run, be able to like function as a person and look decent in a singlet.
Yeah.
So I'll just play with that stuff. But when it comes time to like, I'm going to do something very specific and try and get an outcome, I'll probably be in coaching again. So you can do that and enjoy the education process that comes with it.
Yeah. Sweet. So hopefully by now you guys have a better understanding of where you're at just yourselves. Like, you can kind of listen to this and see yourself in one of the 3 areas, and be able to make some decisions around what will suit you best. Obviously, we spoke about Be Bulletproof launching within the next month. So if you guys are interested, you can head over to the STCfit website or the Instagram. You can find the link in the bio over there. You can apply through the link, or you could just shoot the page a message and I'll be in the DMs and I'll be able to get back to you. Anything else that we have coming up, Ben?
Seminar?
We haven't launched that just yet, have we?
We'll announce the seminar on Monday, so stay tuned to the socials.
Yeah, we'll have another seminar coming up, so you guys can keep your eyes peeled.
I know there's one coming.
Yeah, they'll be in like a 6-weekly basis moving forward. So you guys will have regular intervals of that.
Yeah, and if anyone's a consistent listener and fan that's on the Instagrams, we're about to change how we do our Instagram stuff as well. So we would actually really appreciate feedback on that. If you guys like it, if you missed the old stuff, let us know. We're just going to send it for 4 weeks and see what everyone thinks. If they hate it, we're going to change it back. But if you love it, we'll keep it. So yeah, we're always open to suggestions, even for the podcast, guys. If there's guests, topics, questions, fire them through the STCfit page. Nat's in there in the DMs. Have a chat with her, and we'll do what we can to. We don't make this just so we can have a chat.
Yeah.
We can do that off camera. So if you have anything you want us to talk about, just let us know.
Yep. Sweet. If you like the episode, tag and share to your stories. Tag at STCfit, at Nat Jurek, STCfit, at Ben Scott SC.
STC, yeah. So close. It was SC for a while.
Changed it on me.
Yeah, so it was like 2 years ago, but
I yell at Jason every single week. I'm like, we all need to have the same one.
yeah, he's got the underscore just to make it confusing.
Literally. Sweet. All right, we'll leave it there. See you in a fortnight.
Thanks, guys.